Imagine a construction project so massive, so mathematically precise, that it rivals the smart homes of tomorrow. But there is a chilling catch to this story. The architects didn't have blueprints, they didn't have steel, they didn't have heavy machinery, and they didn't even have the wheel. Welcome to a sanctuary built roughly 11,000 years ago, existing thousands of years before humans had even invented the basic concept of a permanent house or settled civilization. In today's episode of Shelter Stories, we are leaving the futuristic mansions and AI-controlled smart homes behind to investigate the ultimate architectural anomaly known as Göbekli Tepe, where we are going to step inside its terrifying, sunken rooms, come face to face with its faceless stone guardians, and decode the prehistoric security system that protected its walls, so that by the end of this video, you will discover exactly why the greatest builders of the ancient world spent generations creating a masterpiece only to do the unthinkable and completely erase it from the face of the earth. To truly understand the staggering scale of this architectural impossibility, you have to realize exactly who built it, because we are talking about prehistoric hunter-gatherers, nomadic people whose absolute highest concept of shelter was a temporary animal skin tent or a shallow cave to hide from the elements. Yet, standing on a desolate, dusty hilltop in modern-day Turkey, these ancient wanderers somehow organized a massive, highly coordinated labor force, managing to quarry, carve, and transport towering pillars of solid limestone with nothing but rudimentary flint tools, moving monolithic blocks that weighed up to 20 tons across uneven terrain. How does a society with no agriculture, no permanent settlements, no beasts of burden, and no metal tools engineer a complex that completely rewrites the accepted timeline of human civilization? The obstacle wasn't just the sheer physical agony of moving the heavy stone. It was the mind-bending leap in human cognition, as they completely bypassed basic survival homes and went directly to monumental, awe-inspiring architecture whose blueprints didn't exist on paper, but only in the shared, mystical visions of its creators, proving this wasn't a home meant for a person, but a machine designed for something entirely different. Let's walk through the entrance, but you have to understand that you don't just walk into Göbekli Tepe. You descend into it, because the ancient architects didn't build up toward the sky, but instead carved deeply down into the bedrock, creating a series of massive, sunken circular enclosures that stretch up to 65 feet across. Stepping down into these dark, claustrophobic pits would have felt like leaving the earthly realm and crossing over into the underworld. And once your eyes adjust to the flickering torchlight, you notice the ancient parlor where, around the perimeter of these sunken rooms, the builders carved continuous stone benches directly into the cavernous walls. Imagine dozens of people sitting in a perfect circle in the dead of night, the acoustics of the curved stone walls perfectly amplifying their rhythmic chants, the hypnotic beat of animal skin drums, and the echoing whispers of the shamans, creating a prehistoric amphitheater that served as a gathering place for the elite, the initiated, or perhaps the doomed. But they weren't alone in the room, because at the exact center of each enclosure stand the true hosts of this sanctuary, to towering, T-shaped limestone pillars reaching up to 18 feet high that aren't just mere support beams holding up a roof. If you look closely at the smooth stone, the hairs on the back of your neck will stand up as you realize the builders carved long, spindly arms down the sides, hands with elongated fingers wrapping around the front of the stone, and heavy belts holding loincloths made of fox pelts, revealing that these pillars are actually massive, stylized, faceless human beings looming in the center of the room, silent, intimidating, and endlessly watchful. And since every luxury home needs a security system, Göbekli Tepe is guarded by a prehistoric alarm of pure psychological terror, carved in stunning, three-dimensional high relief onto the pillars, featuring the absolute apex predators of the ancient world: snarling boars, leaping foxes, venomous scorpions, and circling vultures holding human skulls. In a modern home, digital cameras and biometric scanners keep threats out, but here, these terrifying guardians were permanently etched in stone, perhaps to protect the room from dark spirits, or maybe to trap a terrifying, untamed energy inside, ensuring every inch of this structure was designed to invoke awe, fear, and absolute submission to the unseen forces of the world. But here is where the story of Göbekli Tepe goes from an architectural marvel to a chilling psychological thriller, because after generations of backbreaking labor, after perfectly carving the faceless hosts and the predator security system, the builders made a collective decision that defies all human logic and historical precedent. They didn't abandon the temple because of an invading army. and a natural disaster didn't claim the site. Instead, the very people who sacrificed everything to build this ancient sanctuary decided to meticulously destroy it. They didn't just smash it to pieces, they orchestrated a massive, agonizingly slow cover-up by hauling thousands of tons of dirt, rubble, and animal bones, carrying it basket by heavy basket, and pouring it directly into the sunken rooms they had spent their lives perfecting. They intentionally buried the faceless giants, they buried the snarling predators, and they filled the enclosures all the way up to the brim, perfectly sealing the entire complex under an artificial mountain of earth, purposefully plunging their masterpiece into the dark and hiding it from the sun for over 10,000 years. Why did they do it? Were they protecting it from a coming global cataclysm? Were they burying a dark, supernatural power they suddenly realized they couldn't control? Or was the agonizing act of burying the temple the final, ultimate architectural ritual required by their gods? We may never know what actually compelled them to completely erase the greatest achievement of the ancient world. But it leaves us with the haunting question: if our ancestors could build and intentionally bury a masterpiece 11,000 years ago, what else is hiding right beneath our feet waiting to be discovered? The story of human shelter, from prehistoric temples to AI smart homes, is darker, more complex, and more mysterious than we ever imagined. So if you love exploring the incredible, the unknown, and the bleeding edge of architecture, both past and future, you know exactly what to do. Hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and comment down below on what you think is really buried at the very bottom of Göbekli Tepe. Follow Shelter Stories, and let's unlock the terrifying mysteries of the past and the future together.